Wow, it hooks up. Wow, it hooks up. I mean, wow. Get a little wheel spin, a little drama and excitement, just like you want out of an M car, and this, of course, delivers. We are finally sitting inside of a BMW M4. This has been one of my absolute favorite cars ever since it came out, and even though there's a whole new generation, and even though some of my love has slightly dissipated, I love M3s and M4s, and I have for a very long time, and again, this F82 is no exception. Now, the reason we're making this video is to ask the question, should you, specifically right now in 2022, amidst this crazy car market, be buying a used BMW M4? It's a long answer, but I'll give you guys the tiniest little taste of my answer, which is that yes, it's something you should definitely consider, because especially the new G82 M4s, the prices are through the roof with dealer markups, with tax. Those cars are easily $100,000 cars, unfortunately. And this is a decent amount less, despite being affected by the car market like anything. And before we get into driving this, discussing how it is to drive, what I like, what I dislike, and again, the value prop in today's market, all I'm going to ask is that if you guys enjoy this video, you throw it a like, and if you want to see more content like this, as well as help make content like this possible, that you subscribe to the channel. Without further ado, let's get out onto the road. All right, since we got it warmed up, I figured why not do one launch control. So DSC off, everything's in Sport Plus, drive logic in the third setting, and I'm in manual mode. So I think this is how you do it. This should be it. Oh yeah, 3K. Drop the clutch. Oh my God. There's 60. Wow. That was abrupt. It dropped the clutch hard, and felt very exciting. All right, so setting off here in the M4. I guess I should specify that this is a 2018 M4. This does have the competition package as well as the executive package, I believe. No, you know what? Not the executive package. It has, I think, the convenience package or something. It has the head-up display. You know, it has everything basically, but any sort of extended leather or unfortunately, the icon LEDs, which I think are kind of a must, but my buddy who recently purchased this vehicle here in 2022 as a used M4 found a pretty solid deal on this, and just unfortunately didn't have the icon LEDs, but it was a pretty low mileage, good price, and competition package, which is kind of all that matters, carbon roof. So shout out to my guy Skinny for that one. Really quick sidebar, I'm sorry the car looks so dirty on the exterior. Part of the footage was shot a different day when this had just received a little sprinkler attack. Did not have time to go wash it, unfortunately. Now it's been cleaned, so if there's a little bit of inconsistency there, it's because I've shot the video through 2 different days. But again, just a little FYI. But back to the video, I'm setting off here in the most comfort-oriented settings possible. So we're in the throttle response is on efficient, the dampers are on comfort, the steering is in comfort, and the transmission here, which is the 7-speed m-dct, is in its lowest drive logic setting. So out of the 3 settings, it's on 1. So this is like the most 330i, 430i version of the M4. You know, you're just putting around, going about 35, 40 miles an hour, no issues, everything is cool. But I'm gonna go ahead and press M1, I believe that, put everything into Sport Plus. It just put the transmission into its 3rd setting, the most aggressive shift setting, and it just gave me this shift light indicator here on the head-up display. So I'm actually gonna pop it over into manual, downshift once here, I'm in 2nd, a lot of drama, going to 3rd, 4th, and holy cow. Yeah, that's a powerful vehicle with a lot of capability. I gotta watch my speeds here on these public roads, but going into 3rd here, into the curve, going into 2nd, I mean, it handles. Oh man, got the seatbelt trim going off my water bottle, I think is setting it off. It's a little bit heavy, so I'll pop that out. speaking of seat belts, on the competition package, you do get the M stripe, which I think looks absolutely fantastic. Got a little bit of space here, so we'll pop out. Give it a little bit of a harder acceleration. Get a little wheel spin, a little drama and excitement, just like you want out of an M car, and this, of course, delivers. Now, this is a good quick segue over to the new M4. Look, despite its very polarizing looks, I haven't had the opportunity to drive one yet. I have sat in one. Obviously, it's the new BMW design language, both inside and out. Again, polarizing on the outside, but the inside is quite a bit nicer than this and feels even more premium. It feels like BMW is finally kind of pushed into the new era of technology, and I don't want to say build quality necessarily, but looks and design on the interior. On the exterior, again, just a funky looking vehicle. But my point is, I've heard they're incredibly capable, and that much more capable than this F82 here. The issue is that they're quite pricey, and whether you're leasing or whether you're buying, you're realistically spending well over $1,000 a month. I mean, either you're buying it cash, close to $100,000, you're paying a well over $1,000 a month lease payment, or you're paying a well over $1,000 a month finance payment. It's an expensive vehicle, and you can get into one of these right now, F82s, and this is an LCI, so 18 through 20, and that's the final model year of the F82 M4. You can get into one, especially a competition package, in decent shape for the mid-50s to mid-60s range. Obviously, it goes probably up to even almost $80,000 for a 2020, low mileage, or for a CS, for instance. And you can go dip down to closer to $40,000, maybe $45,000 for a 15 or 16 pre-LCI, more beat up, non-compact. But I do think this is about the sweet spot. So an 18, first year of LCI, no real true differences between this and a 19 and 20, aside from the iDrive 5, I think it is here, being touchscreen, or maybe it's 6, I can't remember, but this iDrive system is actually, it's the same software regardless, but it's touchscreen in the 19 and 20s. That's the only real difference. Otherwise, I think this is the sweet spot also because it's a comp pack, but 30-some thousand miles, taken care of well, and is in that middle ground price-wise. You don't want to really pay 80 grand. That's new, M4 comp pricing. You could maybe swing one, with tax and whatnot, or without a dealer markup, I should say. But and then a $40,000 beat up one, it wouldn't be my choice either. So this is pretty close to what I'd like. I think if I could have those icon LEDs and pay a couple grand more, that's what I would maybe do. But you still get the S55 motor, and here in competition form, you get 444 horsepower, still 406 pound-feet of torque, the same as a non-comp. But BMW has done some other things, such as some adjustments to the suspension, which give you marginally better handling, but truly just help put the power down better. So I've driven a non-comp M4, and hopping out of those into these, you've noticed this just puts the power down a lot better. I think the M2 competition with the same motor is like the perfect balance, and personally, I would now throw in the tangent of, I would get an M2 competition over a used M4 personally. I would get, honestly, any sort of M2 over any sort of M4 these days, and that's part of that shift I kind of started the video off with, is that I'm not quite as infatuated with the M4 as I once used to be. We have a cop here, so I was gonna do a hard launch, but we'll take off very slowly from the light. M2 for me over the M4, and that's my new perspective. I think it's a more balanced vehicle in general. I like the footprint more, and despite a little less power technically, I think it's just a better application of the motor. I digress. The point I'm trying to make here is that you still have a heck of a motor. In this competition form, the exhaust is ever so slightly different. You can tell by the black tips, but it has a little less packaging on the inside, and I think a slightly more aggressive burble tune. So when you do get it warmed up, like right now in the Sport Plus, throttle or engine setting, and you can get your little burbles ever so slightly. They're hard to perceive. They're not as aggressive as my BMW 340i I had with the MPPSK system. That was just obnoxious burbles and gunshot sounds, if you will. This is a more subtle and a little more of a true tone sound to it, but you can get the M Performance exhaust on the M4s, and it sounds absolutely nuts with that. And just, if you don't like the sound of the S55, again, I've said this before and I'll say it again, that only exacerbates that sound. For me, who does kind of like it, can't really go wrong, making it even louder. If you guys want to check out an S55 M Performance exhaust video, I have done a review of it on the M2 comp, again with the same engine, slightly different exhaust system, but relatively speaking, you can get a taste of what that sounds like, and I'll link that up above here and maybe throw it down in the description box below as well. But, wow, I'm just excited to be in an M4, honestly. We got a hell of an E92 here. I got to get a quick shot of it for you guys. A little dog action too. So speaking of E92s, if you're looking at the used market, obviously you could be considering anything from an E30, E36, E46, E92, this, and then again, the new M4. You could even buy one of those used in theory. But my true perspective is this: if you are a real enthusiast and you have either the wallet or the patience to deal with some maintenance, can't really go wrong with an E46 or an E92 right now. You know, two different approaches, but one's that old school, more pure, again, more similar to the M2 in the footprint sense, and ever so appreciating E46. Not too many issues, but Vano, subframe, yada, yada, you can handle it if you like. A lot of people are buying them right now, and the prices, again, are going up. Then the E92, this is the previous generation to this, the last M3 Coupe. Again, the raw V8, loud, fantastic sounding, that NA linear power, but basically no torque. And this, in contrast, is a torque monster. I mean, again, going from fourth down to second, I just got the rear wheels a little loose right there at 50 miles an hour. So, and that was maybe 40% throttle. So the point is, you can definitely get different experiences. And again, with the E92s, you're gonna deal with throttle actuators and rod bearings, et cetera, et cetera. But you have these choices, and the prices are starting to kind of even out. It's like a good E46 is gonna cost you 40 grand, 50 grand. A good E92 is gonna cost you these days, 60 grand practically. This, 60 grand. So you have these choices. This is a nice spot in the sense that it's more modern. You can get it 18, 19, 20. It's an LCI competition. It's kind of similar to the new gen. I think it looks better than the new gen, especially for me. I like it in white. This black is really sleek, but white's my go-to. And if you get the icon LEDs, it just looks so clean. The carbon roof, you can get in the E92s, but I think it looks even better here with the kind of little center dip in it, and it lines up actually with that hood bulge that you don't get in the new M4s, actually, M3s or M4s, but it kind of lines up with it, and then the trunk has a little indentation in it as well, so it's kind of a nice cohesive design. Overall, the looks, of this are just aggressive. That hood bulge is everything you'd want when you're sitting here. You get that look along with that head-up display. The front end has that, at the time, what was revolutionary BMW design language, and now has kind of been phased away, but the kind of scoops in the front, not some sort of massive crazy grille. Side profile is fantastic and aggressive. It has a little bit of a rake to it. The rear end has that kind of kick on the kick up to the trunk, but then this has a carbon fiber spoiler there as well to even further accentuate that. Down below, this one is pretty much stock. Again, it has the blacked out chrome all around because it's a competition package. Just looks sharp. The LCI taillights look really good. At least it has that, no matter what. If you have an LCI, headlights are the one downside here in this particular example. I know my buddy is considering doing some other mods. I think when he bought it, actually, someone left, they left the tint, the dealership left the tint on one of the reflectors in the rear, so he needs to either peel that off or the other side tints to match. But little things, and maybe add a lip up front. Overall, he's pretty content with what this is for the money right now in this crazy car market. I'm enjoying driving it, honestly. It's definitely not a cheap car, and the prices have gone up, relatively speaking, because of this market. I still just love spending time here in the M4. Now, I want to get into the interior a little bit and then wrap up my thoughts. But before we do, let's do a quick little tall boy test. All right, so now that we're back from the tall boy test, we're getting to a little bit of an exciting part of the road here where we have quite a bit of a dip. So let's take that with caution. We got a little traffic as well. And then I want to show you guys a little bit of this vehicle's capabilities. But let me just talk about the interior. So this is almost identical in theory. The same, let's call it foundation as my, here's that drop off, the same foundation as my F33 series had. So I'm not, it's not all too dissimilar. Obviously a different gauge cluster up here. You have that cool M graphic on the head-up display. The mirrors are one of the best aspects. They not only look so much cooler with that little wing, but they're actually quite a bit wider and give you more rearward visibility. Aside from that, steering wheel is almost the same. It is a little different here on the M, and it feels just a tiny bit better. The paddles feel a tiny bit better as well, but nothing crazy too dissimilar for me. The shifter or the gear selector here actually is one of the other major differences. And the seats. I mean, obviously the M seats alone are just nice and very bolstered. This being a competition package has the cutouts on either side of the center portion, so not so much, actually no lumbar adjustability, unfortunately, with that competition package, but a very aggressive seat that kind of immediately reminds you you're in a sporty car. And when you throw this suspension into, or the dampers into the most sporty setting, which they are here, it's a bit rough here on this slightly bumpy road. And I actually think the sweet spot is the transmission in its second setting. I'll leave the engine, or it's the throttle in Sport Plus, the suspension in Sport, and the steering in Sport. I think that's the sweet spot. So the 2 setting on the Drive Logic, Sport Plus, Sport, Sport. And I think you get the most balanced kind of street drivability out of that, because it's turned on, it's ready to go, but it's not too crazy, and it's not trying to kill you every second or every chance that it gets, because with that 3rd setting on the Drive Logic, it really wants you to wring it out, and if you don't, it almost punishes you and bogs and shakes you up. Same with the suspension. There's no reason to feel any extra bumps. These are already 20-inch wheels, come with the competition package, 265 up front, 285 in the rear. I believe these are Michelin Pilot Super Sports, and maybe PS4Ss, I don't remember, but they're certainly one of the two. PS4Ss would be better in theory. The PS5 is coming out soon, but pretty wide wheels. I think they're 9 inches up front, 10 inches in the rear. Again, they're 20-inch in diameter, but the point I'm making is you don't have that much sidewall with a 20-inch wheel on a coupe like this, so you're already going to feel a bit of, let's say, roughness, and then making the dampers all the way to Sport Plus, just maybe even comfort would be fine, but this is a smooth enough road for me to handle it in Sport in that middle setting. Ultimately, it's just a fun car to drive. It definitely has far superior steering to my F30 340i. There's no question about that. It's super heavy in Sport Plus, but even without being in Sport Plus, you feel more of the road. It's a little bit dartier and sharper, which at the end of the day is preferred to being numb and loose, which is what the 340i's felt like in comparison. Still nothing compared to that steering you're gonna get in the E92. That's just that raw hydraulic steering that you just can't get out of an EPS system like this. But I want to wrap the video up by discussing whether or not really you should be looking at this. I think I've kind of touched on it, but let me hit a little U-turn, hit a hard acceleration, and we'll discuss. Okay, quick little U-turn here. We're gonna punch it right. Woo! Wow, it hooks up. Wow, it hooks up. I mean, wow, that was pretty quick. I was not all the way in it. I was ever so slightly short shifting. I think I was shifting at maybe 6,500 and not going all the way to about 7,500 where red line is. And that was plenty of drama and definitely could wake you up in the morning, if you will. You definitely want to warm this engine up, and the car makes sure to let you know of that by kind of starting that red line a little higher up, closer to 5,500, and slowly dipping it down as the engine warms up. And also you want to get these tires warm. This is a rear-wheel drive vehicle. It's easy to lose control if you rip it too hard. And there's a famous video when the M4s had first come out of someone just gunning it out of Cars and Coffee and kind of just getting that rear end to kick out going over a curb. And you don't want to be that guy. So warm it up, warm the tires up, and I have. And you can actually go ahead, and I'm looking right now and see that the tires are at about, well, the front tires are almost 80 degrees Fahrenheit, but the rears are just over 70. So I can check that out and see that, which is really nice. It's an M. I think now in the M performance vehicles, like the M340s and stuff, you can get that as well, but M used to be an M exclusive feature. This is the point. The M4, and I wish I had more of an opportunity to show off its extreme capability, but I think most of you guys who are watching this either have enough of an interest or have driven one yourself, own one already, and you know that the M cars are fairly capable. Obviously, there's even more capable vehicles out there for the money, but this is a really nice balance of luxury, quality, and performance. So I won't, drag that on anymore, and just say that, hey, if you're considering an M4 in this crazy car market, if you have the money for a brand new G82, and if you like the looks or you appreciate its avant-garde newness in general, go ahead and grab one. I've heard they're incredible. I've heard the manual is not so great, but I've heard the competitions with that 8-speed, I think ZF transmission are pretty killer. But if you want to save yourself a bit of money and don't want to deal with the maintenance or some of the instability or inconsistency of owning a much older M3 or M4, I think these first gen M4s now, these F82s, are a really, really good place to be. As long as you take care of them, as long as you maintain them, they have exceptional capability. They still look, I think, better than the new ones, but they look fantastic. They sound great, especially in competition form. And I think it's a pretty good purchase if you can get a good deal. Definitely shop around if you're interested and make sure, comparatively speaking, you're not getting ripped off. But I think my friend did pretty good here with a low 30,000 mile, well taken care of competition package with most of the right options with the exception of those headlights, and getting it here in the mid to high 50s. Pretty solid. You know, a year or two ago would have somehow been even less, which is insane, but it is what it is. And if you really want one, it's not a bad way to spend that money. Maybe consider the M2, and I will throw the full review of my M2 comp. It's not mine, but the one I've done with the 6-speed manual in the description box below. But thank you guys for checking this video out. I'm super excited to have finally gotten behind the wheel of an M4 here and done a video. Hopefully we'll do an M3 soon, or at least the new gen M3 M4 soon. In fact, I would love to do every generation, so hopefully that will come to fruition sooner than later. But thank you guys for sticking around with this slightly longer review. And with all that said, if you guys have enjoyed the content, please consider subscribing. New videos are dropping every single week on Fridays. And with a little, let's go to third overtake. This is Rio.